Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio has outperformed most hedge funds on Wall Street. And until 2012, politicians like her could legally insider trade. But then the Stock Act changed all of that. It made it illegal to insider trade and forced every member of Congress to publicly disclose their trades. The thing is, they still trade a lot, and their disclosures are public information, which means you and I can see exactly what they're buying and what they're selling. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I track and copy politicians' stock trades and how I research them before making a decision. Let's get into it. How politicians' trades become public. The reason politicians set such an edge on the market is because of the nature of their job. They sit on committees that regulate entire industries. They attend confidential government briefings on what's happening with the economy. And they vote on laws that directly impact specific companies and sectors. So, for example, if you're on a committee that's about to approve a massive government contract for a defense company, you know that before the public does. Bye. Obviously. Or if you're getting briefed on a potential economic crisis, like what happened at the start of the pandemic in 2020, you can sell your stock way before the market crashes, all while everyone is still left in the dark. And all of that was completely legal for members of Congress, even though it was completely illegal for people like you and me. Even Martha Stewart can't insider trade. What kind of world are we living in? But then came the Stock Act in 2012. Again, it made it illegal for politicians to insider trade, and it set up a public disclosure system so anyone can see trading activity from members of Congress. About 2/3. You can monitor what they're buying and what they're selling. It's important to note that even after the Stock Act passed, there was a lot of trading activity still going on. So what actually gets disclosed when a politician makes a trade? Well, when a politician or their spouse makes a trade, they have to file a report, and that becomes public record. That record includes the politician's name, their party affiliation, whether they're in the Senate or the House, and what state or district they represent. Then it shows the actual trade details, the ticker, whether it was a buy or sell, the date the trade was made, and the size of their position. Now, the size of the trade is reported as a range and not a specific dollar amount. So you'll see something like $1,000 to $15,000, or like $100,000 to $250,000. It's never an exact amount. And the reason it's set up like a range like that is just because of how Congress set up the reporting rules. You'll also see whether the trade was made by the politician themselves, jointly with the family member or their spouse. And the ownership details kind of matter a lot in some cases. Like with Nancy Pelosi, most of her trades aren't really made by her. Her trades are technically made by her husband, Paul Pelosi. He's a guy who has a ton of financial experience, but because she's the one in Congress and she's the one that has access to all that information, it has to get filed under her name. Now, here's where it gets tricky. And this is the single most important thing to understand if you're going to be following politicians' trades. Politicians actually have a 45-day window to file a report and disclose their trades. 45 days in the stock market is like centuries. It's a long time. A stock can move like 20, 30%, even more in a window like that. And this kind of creates a problem because all filings aren't made equal. Some politicians file a couple days after making their trade, which means the information is still relatively fresh and the stock price is probably still close to when they actually made the trade. But others wait the full 45 days. And by then, the move has likely already happened. So if a politician bought a stock 40 days ago and is just now disclosing it, you could be entering when the stock has already made its move and is already coming back down. And this is why you should be looking really closely when you're following politicians' trades to when they actually made the trade and when they filed it. That gap will always tell you if the information is actually useful or if it's just probably too late. Unless the politician is making some insane, super long, big brain play. But again, chances are it's too late. 45 days. Finding and reading politician trades in the app. So now you know how everything gets disclosed and why the filing date matters. The question becomes, where do I find all this? I mean, you could go ahead and dig through government websites yourself, look through all the filings, but that's slow and honestly pretty tedious. The tool I use is called Stocks.News. It pulls in all the politician traded data automatically, along with insider trading, sentiment tracking, and a bunch of other research tools that I'm going to walk you through in this video. You can download it for free. I'll leave a link in the description. So let me show you how it actually works. So here we have Stocks.News. Interface looks amazing, super easy to use. And like we just talked about, we're going to go down here to insiders. And here we're able to see stocks, sentiment, insiders, and politicians. As you can see here in the politicians tab, there are a ton of trades being recorded here. You might recognize some of these names here. And as stated, you can see if they bought, sold the range. Here, Cleo Fields put $100,000 to $250,000 into Meta stock, and the transaction happened on February 3rd, 2026, and he filed it 22 days after. And if you want to get even deeper and see some filings for yourself, you can go over here to the Insiders tab, and here you'll usually see large corporate figures or influential people, directors, CFOs, CEOs, 10% owners. Let's check out one of the more recent ones. Matt Ishbia, a CEO. You could see he sold $2.6 million worth of stock. It even shows you how many shares and at what price. And if we click view details here, we can actually see the SEC filing. If we zoom in here to the form, we can see all of the details here. I mean, basically everything. Transaction date, the amount of securities acquired or disposed of. You can see here 632,000 shares priced at $4.25. And it even shows you how many shares they still own after the transaction. And like mentioned earlier, direct or indirect ownership. So now you know how to find politicians and insider trades, but finding a trade is really just step one, because you should never just blindly copy and paste a trade without doing your own research first. And the reason for that is simple. The politician had information that you didn't have. They entered at a price that you probably won't get, and the report could have been filed weeks after the trade actually happened. So the way I treat it is I set politician trades as a good starting point. I never use it as an automatic buy signal. Oh, Pelosi just bought $10 million worth of Nvidia stock. Buy. Probably a good idea anyways, but beside the point. The first thing I always check is timing. And I talked about this in the last section, but it's worth repeating because this is where you actually apply it. Look at when the trade was made versus when it was actually filed. If the filing came through quickly, and I mean within a few days, chances are the price is still pretty close from when that politician or insider entered, which means you could probably still get in at a similar level and still get some similar benefits that those politicians or insiders are going to be getting. But if it's been a while, I mean, you gotta check the price and where it's at and where it was at. If it's up 30-40%, the trade is gone. Forget about it, move on. Once the timing checks out, it's time to research the stock itself. So here, going back to the politicians tab, let's check out this trade from John W. Hickenlooper. We can see he sold from $50,000 to $100,000 worth of Sirius stock, and that transaction was made on February 5th, but it wasn't filed until an entire month after. Let's check out some more details on the stock itself. Here in the overview, right away, we can see the Morningstar report, which I'll get into in a second. So here we can see the chart. Here we can see signal, which is going to be based mostly around sentiment. We can show if the stock right now is bullish or bearish. Even shows the comment volume and the sentiment trading that's being done with that stock. Anyways, going back here to the Morningstar report, we can see that the stock is at a 5 stars right now, even though their economic moat is set to none, which usually means that the company itself doesn't have any long-term advantage to defend their profits. To put it simply, it means they really don't have any advantage in their market. They're usually facing some pretty intense competition, which could allow other rivals in the same industry to chip away at their market share. Morningstar shows that the stock is undervalued, and a fair value as of today would be at $28, and the quantitative uncertainty is set to high. Now mind you, this feature is only available for paid subscribers. And this video does not serve as any type of financial advice. I'm just giving you guys the sauce. So let's actually take a quick deeper look into that politician's trade. So we remember that he made the trade on February 5th. Now, if we go back to Signal here and click view more, we can actually see the sentiment of that stock. And it even shows the mentions history. So keeping in mind that he sold all of this stock on February 5th, let's scroll down and check out how many mentions there were. There were 207 mentions of Sirius stock on that day. Let's actually go back and check out the chart and see what happened to the stock on February 5th. So on February 5th, he sold at $22, and the very next day, it started dropping down to $21, then on the 9th to $20. That's a $2 move. And again, he at the time knew something that we all didn't. The likelihood is that he heard the news right before it was about to come out. He sold the stock, but he didn't file the report till a month later. So again, please be sure to check the transaction date and the filing date because they could be way off. Now, if the sentiment is starting to pick up and you can see that there's a lot of positive mentions, that can be a good sign that there's some real momentum building up behind that trade. But if the stock's already being hyped up and everyone's already talking about it, be careful. At that point, you could be late to the party and you could be buying at the very top. I also like to even check the scanner to see if the stock is moving right now. And the reason I check this is if a politician bought a stock and it's also showing up on the scanner as a top mover with positive momentum, that's a much stronger signal than the politician trade on its own. But if the stock really isn't moving at all yet, it might mean the catalyst hasn't hit yet, or maybe the trade's just too old to be useful at this point. Now, once you've done all the research and you like what you see, you can also add the stock to your watch list and set up alerts so you don't lose track of it. You can see right here, if you just go to the home screen, click the 3 lines on the top left, go down here and you'll see my watch list. And here, you can explore some tickers and add a new stock to your watch list. Hit that little bell, hit that star, you hear a nice little sound, and it's now on your watch list. On top of that, if you click this bell up here, you can set up some alerts, and these can send you push notifications, so you'll literally be on top of everything all the time. You can change the alert name, and it even gives you the option to pick whether you want an alert for sentiment or for mentions. If the news sentiment seems to change drastically, you'll get an alert about it. And equally, if the stock has a crazy surge in mentions, you'll get alerted. Select both, add to alerts, and that's that. Make sure you're going into your settings, going to notifications, and make sure you allow notifications. Otherwise, you won't hear or see a thing unless you're in the app. Again, like if sentiment suddenly spikes or there's a crazy new amount of mentions, you will get notified instead of finding out days later when the stock has already moved and the play is gone. Oh, and one more thing, if you actually want to test your ideas without putting any money in, you can actually just use the simulator. You'll see right down here at the bottom, it actually gives you real-time data and gives you $100,000 to mess with. As you can see here, I've already messed around a little bit, dumped a bunch of money into Nvidia and Palantir. So this way, when you're taking a look and analyzing politician trades and getting some ideas of your own, you can actually test them out on the simulator, and you can see how things would completely play out. Again, this is real-time data from the markets. So yeah, you basically have everything in one, including a paper trading account. And this is extremely useful, especially if you're new to trading, or if you're just kind of unsure about following politician trades and you want to kind of feel it out for yourself and see if it's a good fit for you. So if you want to start tracking politicians' trades, insider trades, and do all your research in one place, download the Stocks.News app for free using the link in the description. Again, it pulls in politician trading data, insider and billionaire trades, live sentiment from Reddit and X, has Morningstar research reports, and a live stock scanner. So again, it'll be the first link in the description. And if you want to learn more about finding winning trades before anyone else does, make sure to watch this video next.